Hideo Kojima is the master of creating intricate, complex worlds chock full of lore, and Death Stranding is no exception. Trouble is, wrapping your head around it can be tough. Luckily, we're bringing you an easily digestible summary of the world of Death Stranding. Hi, I'm Dan with the leaderboard, and this is Death Stranding, the lore you know. Put on a fresh pair of boots and hold your breath because there are some light spoilers ahead. We're talking about concepts and characters that have been introduced up through Chapter 3. So if you haven't played the game, think of this as a Death Stranding 101 to get you prepped. And if you're further in, this will all be a refresher for you. The Death Stranding. The Death Stranding was the event that started it all, changing the world forever. It started as a series of explosions across the map, decimating tons of people and immediately isolating America from the rest of the world. As a result, many of the survivors have no idea what became of other countries. Maybe they were destroyed in the Cataclysm, or maybe they weren't even affected by it at all. Nobody knows what caused the Death Stranding in the first place. BTs and the beach. As mysterious as the Death Stranding is itself, we do know what the consequences were. The event caused a merging between our world and the beach, a kind of purgatory that exists between the realms of the living and the dead. It's a bizarre, barren realm. It looks like a shore decorated with the carcasses of dead marine life, everything from crabs to whales. In the beach, time stands still. Some think that the beach is a manifestation of humanity's perception of death, and that every person has their own personal beach. The denizens of this limbo are called beached things, and now they've become stranded in the realm of the living. Being isolated sucks, but the BTs are a true nightmare. They're these phantasmic, oily monsters that attack and consume anyone unlucky enough to cross their path. And these things pop up all over the place. When a BT consumes a human, it creates a void out, a massive antimatter explosion similar to the ones that happened during the beginning of the Death Stranding. If that wasn't inconvenient enough, human corpses also are a huge hazard. No matter the cause of death, bodies will turn into BTs and cause void outs if they decay past a certain threshold. It only takes 48 hours for a body to go necro, so all bodies have to be incinerated as soon as possible to prevent even more disasters. There's even a whole dedicated corpse disposal team, specifically tasked with incinerating bodies before it's too late. They're part of this organization called Bridges, but we'll get to that in a bit. Chiralium. Aside from the BTs, the Death Stranding also left large amounts of chiralium in Earth's atmosphere. Chiralium is an element native to the beach, and now that it's in our world, it's brought a wide array of effects along with it. The most notable example has to be timefall, an inexplicable meteorological phenomenon related to the chiralium in the atmosphere. Timefall looks like normal old rain, but it rapidly ages anything it comes in contact with. Like, if even a drop lands on your hand, that one little spot will turn geriatric in a matter of seconds. Once they land, drops of timefall turn into normal water, so it's nearly impossible to understand just how timefall works. The growth and decay caused by the timefall geographically transformed almost everything not already altered in the void outs. So America is nearly unrecognizable compared to the land it used to be. Prolonged exposure to chiralium can also cause severe mental health problems, such as depression and suicidal tendencies. In extreme cases, it can even lead to a permanent hormonal imbalance in the brain. Jeez, I sound like I'm in a pharmaceutical commercial. Like, ask your doctor if chiralium is right for you. Spoiler alert, it's not. You know, while the Death Stranding brought untold destruction, there was a silver lining to this chiralium cloud. The advent of chiralium ushered in major scientific breakthroughs. This material possesses a great amount of energy, a connection to the beach, and a tendency to float. So, Bridges engineers were able to create all kinds of new futuristic tech. Chiral printers could synthesize equipment, vehicles, and structures on the spot, as long as you provide them with the right materials. Floating carriers could better transport cargo by hovering over dangerous terrain. But the greatest innovation has to be the chiral network, a spiritual successor to the internet. By connecting locations with chiral strands, different cities and settlements can communicate with each other using the beach as a kind of conduit. It's like interdimensional fiber optics. Look, however it works, the chiral network aims to bring the people of America back into contact with each other, allowing them to share information between their databases. Chiralium also has a few other positive side effects, like these little floating bugs called cryptobiotes. Okay, I know it sounds gross, but if you eat one of these things, they can restore blood levels and help you resist the effects of timefall. A cryptobiote a day keeps the timefall away. And as dangerous as timefall is, even that has its uses. Timefall has been used in beneficial ways, especially in the farming sector. By using precise measurements of timefall, some farmers have been able to develop methods to grow crops in record time. As a result, hunger isn't really an issue in the post-Stranding America. Rather, the most pressing issue affecting what remains of society is isolation. Bridges and the UCA. America is essentially destroyed after everything that the Death Stranding threw at it. So, all over the country, pockets of survivors came together and isolated themselves in cities called knots, and other small communities. Preppers have been preparing for an apocalyptic event since before the Stranding, and they isolated themselves even further, living alone in their fortified bunkers. Slowly but surely, people began to adjust and adapt to this new world. Bridget Strand was the president of the United States at the time of the Stranding. Once the dust settled, she devoted herself to reconnecting the isolated communities across America, forming the United Cities of America, or UCA for short. She also founded Bridges, an organization dedicated to bringing the different cities and shelters into contact via delivering cargo. Bridges would deploy specialized porters to travel across dangerous, BT-infested terrain and bring people the supplies they needed. We've already met some of the major players at Bridges. Sam Porter Bridges is, well, just that, a porter who works for bridges. He's a repatriate, meaning that if he's consumed by a BT and transported to the beach, he can return to his body and be revived. He's also the son of Bridget Strand. After she dies of cancer, her daughter Amelie takes over as the president of the UCA, but she doesn't run bridges. That honor goes to director Die Hardman. He's also a repatriate, hence the name. Look, if you think that's on the nose, then you'll love Deadman. He used to be a coroner. Get it? Look, I could go on about Heartman and Mama, but I'll just let you guess what they're all about based on their names. Experts at bridges soon made a breakthrough when they discovered bridge babies, or BBs. Turns out that young babies taken from still mothers, brain-dead pregnant women, had a powerful connection between the realms of the living and the dead. As such, these babies had a unique ability to sense BTs. Porters carry bridge babies in unique containers. Then, they connect a bridge baby to a claw-like terrain scanner on their back called an Odradek. That way, when a porter scans the area, the BBs can help warn them of nearby BTs during their journeys. BBs can't stay out in the field for long, however. Many begin to exhibit symptoms of autotoxemia. Their bodies basically poison themselves. Porters have to periodically return BBs to a machine that reconnects them to their mother's womb. Due to their fragile nature, many BBs are retired after about 1 year. I mean, they are babies after all. Cross-country deliveries wouldn't be too tough if it weren't for Homo Demens, a terrorist organization originating in the West. They're driven by an apocalyptic sense of nihilism rather than a single ideal or leader, and they've orchestrated numerous deadly attacks over the years. Homo Demens leaves corpses to necrofy in densely populated areas, causing catastrophic void-outs, often wiping entire cities off the map and leaving behind crater lakes of tar. While the UCA sought to fight the Homo Demens, due to a lack of resources and the group's unstructured nature, nothing could be done to take the fight to their territory in the West. Fragile Express and Higgs. While the UCA sought to rebuild from the east, more remote parts of America fell under the umbrella of Fragile Express. The founder of Fragile Express and his daughter, aptly named Fragile, sought to reconnect America through delivering supplies. But unlike UCA, Fragile Express wasn't so interested in re-establishing the nation that once was. After Fragile's father passed, she took control of the company, merging with a group of porters led by a man named Higgs Monahan, who shared Fragile's vision of a brighter tomorrow. The alliance wouldn't last though. Higgs soon went rogue, allying with the Homo Demens and tricking Fragile into delivering a pre-stranding nuke to Middle Knot City, thus wiping it off the map. After figuring out Higgs' true intentions, Fragile managed to prevent the full detonation of a second nuke headed for South Knot City. Still, the incident severely damaged Fragile's reputation, the person and the company. From here, Fragile became a divisive figure. Some distrusted her, accusing her of conspiring with Homo Demens, while some lauded her for saving South Knot City. Dooms. After the stranding, some individuals began to exhibit signs of a syndrome known as DOOMS, which stands for, okay, I actually have no clue what it stands for. The S probably means syndrome, and maybe the D means death or something. Anyway, people with DOOMS have an enhanced connection to the beach, compared to ordinary people at least. The most common symptom of DOOMS is a distinct chiral allergy. In areas of high chiral density, those afflicted with DOOMS will start crying like somebody cut up a bunch of onions. For all we know, one of the O's in DOOMS might stand for onions. Look, I wouldn't put it past Kojima. Your guess is as good as mine. DOOMS does have its benefits though. For starters, people with DOOMS have an innate resistance to chiral exposure. If they get hit with timefall, they won't instantly wither away. Furthermore, those afflicted can manifest useful powers, depending on the severity of their dooms. For example, Sam has level 2 dooms, so he can weaponize his blood, among other bodily fluids, to harm BTs, something apparently only he and he alone can do. Seriously, you can turn his shower water into anti-BT grenades. That's pretty freaking useful if you ask me. Even more powerful doomsers include Amelie and Fragile, who can use the beach to essentially teleport at the cost of blood levels. Higgs has the most powerful case of dooms that we've seen. As a result, he has the incredible ability to summon and control BTs. The biggest drawback of dooms is that the connection between the afflicted and the world of the dead can manifest in a slew of mental health problems. They can take the form of terrifying nightmares, and in Sam's case, a phobia of being touched. And even though they're resistant to chiralium, that doesn't make them fully immune. So they can survive a bit of timefall, but they still have to be careful. Exposure to too much chiralium can exponentially worsen the mental toll of dooms. You know, maybe that explains a lot about Higgs. Drone syndrome and mules. Before the Death Stranding, delivery had become automated to a point where humans were barely involved. Everyone was getting their packages delivered by these Amazon-type drones. That works out great for us, but those poor out-of-work delivery men were made obsolete. And so, they developed drone syndrome, an illness consisting of a deep depression. The government instituted laws to put human deliverers back into work, but even that wasn't enough to help. The deliverers soon developed a new ailment, delivery dependence syndrome. They became convinced that society needed them to survive, even though those drones worked perfectly fine. Well, once the Death Stranding went and fouled everything up, the delivery dependence syndrome only got worse. It wasn't just in their heads anymore, people really depended on these deliverers to survive. Between constant deliveries and chiral exposure, many porters started to literally become addicted to delivering packages. These workaholics would go to any length just to get that high of a job well done. They'd even go so far as to attack and steal cargo from other porters. These rogue porters formed roving gangs and territories and came to be known as mules. Don't ask me what that stands for, I literally cannot think of a single word that would fit in there and make sense. Look, Hideo Kojima loves his acronyms, almost as much as he loves his real-world tie-ins. Monster Energy Drink. Yes, among everything that was destroyed, Monster Energy Drink is still going strong. What, you want a drink of water? Too bad, man, all you can drink is Monster Energy. It's got what porters crave. It's got electrolytes. Seriously, you can't drink water if you want to. When you put water in your canteen, it automatically filters it into Monster Energy drink. No one knows how or why, but I do know that all players are welcome here at the leaderboard. So why not subscribe? Oh, and let me know what lore videos you want to see. The leaderboard hereby enters into a contract with all of you. I've been your host, Dan, and thank you for watching.